Kids, listen to the rap music. Kids, listen to the rap music. What do you like to play?
Pokemon.
Pokemon, 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 Pokemon. What do you like to play?
Pokemon.
Pokemon, Pokemon, Pokemon. You see, the kids, they listen to the rap, which gives them the brain damage. You see, with their hippin' and the hoppin' and the pippin' and the boppin', so they don't know what the jazz is all about. You see, jazz is like Jello pudding. No, actually, it's more like Kodak film. No, actually, jazz is like a new coat. It'll be around forever.
What's the difference between me and you? What's the difference between me and you?
Come on, little fella, you like a jump rope. What do you think candy is made out of?
Pokemon.
Pokemon? No, actually, candy is more like Kodak film. See, here I go, down the slope. Oh, I'm going zip-zop, zoom-a-da-bop. It's okay, take your time. Do you remember what he looked like? I had an uncle named Stewie. He used to sell bicycles. What you got there? A big, stupid doo-doo head. What do you want to play?
Pokemon.
Pokemon, 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 Pokemon.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, let me get the brightness going here because this is dark.
Oh man, we are
Hit the light
dark
for me because
as-
we're actually losing some light.
dark days.
Okay, that didn't do anything.
I'm helping.
All right, so let's see.
Man, the sun was all perfectly positioned. Then it had to go and,
Right,
set
the
on
sun
us.
actually was helping us. Let me try to increase the brightness here. So
Make it go supernova again.
You want us to blow
So
up?
that it's just like
Wait,
there's
Go
there's all that remains is the sun.
actually, we're getting better. We're getting better.
pretty
We're
good.
getting there. All right. What's up?
Woo! Excellent.
All right. So you probably can't hear us very good, or well. I don't really know how to speak, but we're running off a webcam microphone today, mostly due to the fact that we don't have a microphone with us today. So
Minor detail.
if you cannot hear us, I apologize.
People are saying it sounds good, so that's what matters.
That's Matt, good old Matt. Hey Matt, how's it going?
Oh, sweet. Love that guy.
Alright, let me get into our document here
Yes.
that I decided to close out.
Got a running list of topics that we try to keep track of, so that way as we have
apparently I need to go to Drive.
ideas, we don't lose them.
Right.
So there's always 1,000 things that we want to talk about, and only so many,
Alright.
hours of the day.
Alex did send me a couple topics yesterday. A couple that I do want to talk about. Alright, first off, let's just start. What have we been playing for the past, what have you been doing for the past couple weeks? Cause,
Okay, yeah.
I haven't actually talked to you in the past couple
Yeah.
weeks, so I mean, I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I know lately, a little bit of Warframe, not quite as much as I would have liked. Video games, unfortunately, haven't had a whole lot of time for me lately, but the latest one that I just tried is The Secret World. It's an MMORPG, and as Justin knows, I'm not a tremendous fan of MMORPGs, but a bunch of my friends with whom I usually play Payday 2 and a couple of the others, they're playing it, and none of them are big MMO guys either, but they're all swearing by it. They say it's really neat, and I had wanted to make sure I get my job situation in place before I start taking up a new game and such, and I just accepted an offer for a new job so now I can, do that and talk about it too, and, not have to worry about people saying it and getting weirded out by it. Because you never know. But in any case, yeah, The Secret World, I've only played about an hour into it so far. We played it a little bit, not last night, but the previous night. Last night I went to a Zappa show, and it was awesome.
I think we were talking about that last time.
Oh man, it was so awesome. But yeah, The Secret World, it's very very plot driven, and it's very numbers based. Of course, it's an MMO, so there is some grindiness to it, but it doesn't feel too obtuse. There's lots of very surreal aspects, like lots of stuff in the scenery that I'm a big fan of. lots of things. You'll see like Cthulhian monsters and like floating islands in the distance, and it's all like in a modern world. So the surreal part of it kind of meshes well with the real life like the real world ish aspects of it. So it seems like a cool type of universe. We'll see how it feels when it gets into combat and leveling up and such. I've only scratched the surface. But
Oh, okay.
we're still hoping.
Because I was going to ask you, is it like a traditional MMO?
You earn like ability points that you can spend on various types of
it's like-
weapons.
Okay.
And your character too levels up, but it seems like the focus is on building abilities around it rather than you leveling up. Like, not really class based, I guess is what I'm getting at. It's
Okay, so
more like,
that's what I liked. Okay, so if what you're getting at is kind of like what I liked about Star Wars Galaxies, which was you didn't really. Do you pick a class?
nope.
No.
You
so
pick
you start as like a neutral bro.
Yep. Or
right?
Brodette.
Or brodette,
Uh-huh.
however you want to look at
Yep.
it. And you have a certain skill tree that you can follow.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. That's
Yeah.
actually my favorite type of skill system.
It's pretty slick, and the ability to pick up and switch out between new types of weapons is
Yeah.
very easy. You're not married to whatever your original choice is.
Yes.
You do, of course, have just the noob starting equipment, but you can find not new
That's
starting
actually
stuff.
interesting. I might actually have to take a look.
Now would be a good time. The reason I laughed a little bit when I said the Secret World is that I picked it up on Sunday. Guess what went on sale on Monday? 66% off. Thanks, Steam. That's $20 I didn't want anyway.
You know, if you contact them, they might give you a deal.
I'm not too worried about it, honestly.
Oh.
I-
How much was it originally?
It's $30 full price, and it went down to like a little bit over 10.
Is it a monthly buy pay or is it free to play? Or
Let's
free
see.
to once you buy?
It's a free to once you buy. It's a
Free to once you buy.
It's a one time wham bam thank you ma'am as far as
Okay.
as far as the price is concerned. There's like optional DLCs you can buy and like extra expansion stuff. The guys I'm playing with haven't made it nearly far enough into the game to the point where that becomes a thing. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay.
How about yourself?
Well, okay, so I was actually gone last week, but luckily I did have this laptop. And I played a ton of Grand Theft Auto.
Oh.
Me and Eric actually played a ton of Grand Theft Auto. He couldn't get it to work for the first couple days because his
Really?
CD key. He actually had a CD key issue.
Uh-huh.
Rockstar apparently tied it into an old account, and his account that he had on Steam, which was different because he was playing like Max Payne or something. of that nature.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, but yeah, he wasn't able to play for the first couple days.
Mm.
I enjoyed the first couple days without you, Eric. But it's nice. You get killed a lot. I mean, you literally can't stand still online for more than 5 minutes.
if you're playing online,
yeah, right. I love the single player.
Well,
Online is where it's at right now. As long as
Nice.
you have people to play with.
yeah,
So that's we're gonna need you to pick up Grand Theft Auto 5, Alex, and
No pressure.
So you can join our heist team because we
That
need 2 other
sounds
people.
awesome.
The bad thing is that heists do require 4 people.
Mhm.
So like after you get past the initial heist, it requires more people.
Yeah.
So it requires 4. You have to have 4.
Oh,
And if someone exits the game or someone cuts out of
Yeah.
matchmaking, like in the middle,
oh,
your mission will automatically fail.
oh man,
And you have to
that's
restart.
brutal.
It's kind of bad, actually. You literally have to know people if you want to play.
People know me. Yeah,
Right.
That's a little. They might flesh that out later on, maybe.
Right. Other than that, I've been on the plane. I tried to do Persona. I got a
Hearthstone.
little further than that, and then Hearthstone. Hearthstone came out for iPhone, or it came out for
Oh,
phones.
yeah.
in general.
Well,
So it was really easy to pick it up in the airport and just play. So
rest in peace.
I've been
mobile users.
trying to get better. It's a slow
Oh,
progress. It's definitely the frat boy initiative, which is you walk on glass and you get hit a lot.
Nice.
A lot of phasing
Mhm.
or hazing. That's what they call it, the phasing.
facing.
A lot of
plan.
invisible people. Yeah, no, it's fun. I think I'm getting there. I think
Nice.
I'm finally getting the hang of it.
Well-
I found a deck that I do enjoy. So I like the rogue and I like the warlock a lot.
Nice.
So I'm kind of flipping between those two.
No.
Other than that, we're up to current now, and I
All right.
haven't played anything this week yet. So,
Yeah. Stupid adult stuff getting in the way.
so yeah. Let me get to our list here. Okay, I wanted to talk about the GOG Game Over. What is it? Good Old Games.
Yes.
The Galaxy app that's
Yes.
coming up. So you actually told me about this yesterday, and I was wondering what the hell it was. I had
What the
no
hell are you
idea.
talking
I hadn't
about?
even heard about it.
Yeah, it is GOG's entry into the desktop client space to compete with Steam and Origin as the two big ones. And it's still very much in beta, still got a ways out. I don't know if they have an official release date, but the beta is fairly open. I submitted my email address and got an email for the beta, with a beta key, within minutes really, so I don't think if it's selective, I never got that indication, so I think for folks watching, you're more than welcome to try it out if you have a GOG account. Knowing GOG, they'll probably give you some nifty little bonus for helping them out by installing it and trying it out and whatnot. I know that when they first started, if like GOG back when they were good old games, I know that if you were if you had an account on the old website before it transferred over, you got some free stuff. I think some free games maybe. So knowing them, they'll probably reward you for helping them out and help just generally use the app. And it's in beta, so probably a little buggy. I haven't had any problems with it myself, but it's interesting, and it's something that I know that people, when it comes to Steam competitors, GOG is one that comes up frequently, and there's a lot of pros that Steam has over GOG. So this is a nice way to see them taking the competition a little bit more seriously.
Well, the thing is like Steam has been around for so long. Like it's
It has.
literally like, I mean, there was obviously PC games before Steam.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
totally.
but Steam kind of brought it all together with
Yes.
being the first ever client on the PC to allow you to install, download and install,
Yeah.
not have a CD key. You can just load it straight from your hard drive.
Yeah.
And it was easy, you know, and
Yeah.
they have honestly like marketed that incredibly well.
They have.
Like, and then their games are just good.
Yeah.
You know, like you cannot say that no one who played Half-Life was like Half-Life was bad. You know, like no one, you know, you don't say that like playing Half-Life 1 and 2, like you're just like this is an absolutely amazing game.
Yeah.
People, I mean, some people don't really care for Portal because people don't like puzzle games, but
Understandable.
Portal is an amazing game.
It is.
Like anything else they've created, obviously they didn't technically create Counter-Strike or create Day of Defeat. But they hired the people who made the game,
Yep.
and then they capitalized off
fleshed it
that.
out,
Team
yeah.
Fortress, amazing. Well, I mean, Team Fortress, people liked Team Fortress 1. I never really played Team Fortress 1. At school, we used to do conch jumps, which is just which is just the rocket jump.
Yeah.
Those were incredibly fun, but that's
Yeah.
really the only as much I got into Team Fortress. Team Fortress 2 came out, and I bought it with the orange box.
Yeah. Oh,
And man, that was I got encapsulated in that. That was my highest played game for the longest time.
I believe it.
I think it's still my number one on Steam. I think
Oh, yeah?
I'm pulling. I think it's still up in like the 600-hour area. So,
That's impressive, man. It's a good game, though.
but yeah, back to the actual topic.
Yeah.
They have a long way to go if they want
They do.
to compete with Steam. The thing that GOG has is that they're in the name good old games. I mean,
Yes.
they literally capitalized on
Oh, yeah.
bringing all these old games DRM free
That's a big one.
to anyone. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a lot of stuff that they offer. You know,
Yeah.
like old Civ games and
Oh, yes.
Myst. You know, all these old ass games,
Mhm.
and you can just hand them out to your friends. Like if
Yeah.
you're at a LAN party or something, you can just be like,
Exactly.
here you go. Here's a copy of this if you want to play. If you
Yeah.
want to play together or whatnot. It's an awesome service.
It is. It is, and they do have, like you mentioned, they have a lot of exclusives that Steam and Origin did not have. It seems like over time that tide is turning a little bit. I know that Steam got System Shock 2 some determinate length of time after GOG got it, so they had it first for a while. There have been a number of, I know that there were a number of Hitman games that, or actually maybe it was just Contract that was only on GOG for a while. There have been just a couple of other miscellaneous games that I've had my eye on GOG, and I just kind of noticed they just cropped up on Steam all of a sudden. So little by little, they're kind of shaving some of that off, but GOG does still have a significant number of games that Steam probably no time soon will get their hands on. And like you mentioned, the DRM thing is huge as far as what gives them that edge, because like Justin mentioned, Steam's pretty awesome in most cases. I think most people would agree that Steam is usually viewed in a positive light nowadays. It was not always the case. It used to have.
No.
It had some humble beginnings.
It did. Everyone hated it whenever it first
Yeah.
came out. I mean,
Yeah.
but it did have a lot of troubles. It had a lot of
It did.
issues with, because I guess back in the early 2000s, so it's like 2000.
Would've been 2003, I think.
So
I think.
I know at the time I was going to a lot of, I was going to LAN centers. There was two in particular that we were going to, me and my friends, and one thing is that they couldn't, before they were able to talk to Valve and get these licenses for, they were able to get a LAN center license for like Counter-Strike and all these games, right?
Yeah.
So they could install it on all their machines.
Uh-huh.
Well, once Steam hit, that was like a null thing.
Done.
Like, you couldn't even play these games anymore. Like, and then Steam was like, coming in, and he's like, well, now we're gonna have to buy individual licenses for every machine. And he's like, I don't know what to do. He's like, I tried to contact Valve, and they haven't been able to help me out.
Right.
So I think that was a downfall for the LAN center type deal. The LAN centers were dying anyways at that time because people. That's when personal computing was, or when personal gaming computers were kind of on the rise because.
Broadband connections
and prices, because prices started going down substantially. You could actually buy a video card for $100. Like you didn't have to buy, you could actually buy a video card. I should say. Because,
that's a good point.
Because beforehand, there was really no video cards. I mean, my first video card was definitely before 2003. It was probably in 99, 2000. When Battlefield 1942 came out, that was my first video card, though.
It would have been. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't off the top of my head.
I required at least a GeForce or above, and I got a GeForce 4.
Oh.
And I was like, man, this is awesome. Put in my HP Pavilion with like 48 meg of RAM or something like that.
Whew. Living the high life, man.
Just kidding. I don't even know how I would even get that RAM amount. 64 megabyte of RAM. That's what I meant.
Same thing. They're just numbers. They're subjective. Numbers are subjective.
Yeah. Where were we at before I diverted?
No, it's okay. Just with the going down and stuff. Just like comparing it with Steam.
Oh,
and
that's
Origin.
right. That's right. And how Steam had a terrible.
Yeah.
I'm reflecting back on where I was going.
Oh yeah. No, it's all good. But yeah, they definitely had some rough starts, and of course, Origin started much later than Steam, and they had a bit of an advantage in that sense. So getting started was a little bit easier for them, I think.
They did because they had Battlefield.
That too. And EA, just to throw money at it.
Well, yeah, and okay, so I have my bone to pick with Origin. Origin is terrible. I hate Origin. I absolutely do. I feel like Origin went after Steam in the wrong way, because I feel like if you're a first party like Origin, they don't have a lot of, they have games, obviously. They have AAA titles.
Oh, totally.
But that's the only thing they're selling. That's the only thing they really sell on Origin. They're not selling other people's products on Origin. So,
oh, really?
Well, that's not what I mean, are they? Because
that's not what I actually don't. I've never used Origin.
Oh, well, I've used it for Battlefield 4.
Oh.
By the way, I hated the way Battlefield 4 was set up. As far as okay, so you launched the game, and then you had to go to a web browser to select your server, and then and then it would close your game and then reopen it when you want to.
Interesting way of doing it.
Right? So
what do I know?
It was a bit fucky.
It sounds a bit fucky.
But yeah, no, I don't think. I think Origin was just trying to. I don't know. I guess it's cool. You want to do your own thing and you want to try to have your own service, but I feel like you were taking away from the community at that point, because a lot of people play Battlefield 3 and 2 on Steam. You know, that was where the community was at, and then you kind of diverted that community over to Origin, and people already don't like Origin. So I don't know. They still sold however many copies, and then Battlefield Hardline came out and people still bought that. So it's not going away anytime soon, no doubt. And it seems like with EA, they I don't want to say controlling, but they definitely like to have. I'll go ahead and call it what I'm thinking. They like to have full control over their product. So having it hosted on a service like Steam, I think, made them feel a little bit shifty in their seats, which might have spurred a lot with the Origin stuff. So I don't know. It's hard to say for sure. Being unable to read their minds, but I think they probably viewed Steam as a threat, and maybe they should. It is competition. Yeah, and I guess Steam does need competition because they need someone to constantly push them to go somewhere. I mean, I have faith that Valve knows what they're doing. And they have a good head. Everybody has a good head on their shoulders at Valve, but I don't want them to become dormant at all. I don't want them to stop doing something because something's working, which really isn't in their nature, anyways. But you never know. Some companies are like that. Especially if they hit something big, they kind of, companies tend to stick with that one thing and they pulverize it into the ground. Like Call of Duty franchise, It
happens.
But, they still make money off of it, obviously, because, they know
that. They know what they're doing.
They can literally just reskin a whole fucking game and sell it right back. You know, like give me some content or something. Give me something else. My favorite video is watching the endings of the game and how they're the exact same in both games.
That's awesome.
And somebody put like a side by side, like one's in like the winter or something, and like another thing's happening over here. They're both the same. Mm-hmm. They have the same concept. They catch somebody like cuts. It was complete bullshit. I was like, okay, so they technically reskinned this scene.
I can see that.
So, but I guess technically people don't buy Call of Duty for the single player.
That's, I think, the big thing. Yeah, and of course it's been criticized for having a fairly annual release schedule. Something that was levied against the Maddens and the FIFAs and all the others, like all the other predictably annual installments too. And I don't know how I stand on that, honestly. I mean, if people want it, and clearly they do, because that stuff practically prints money, but I don't know. It's interesting to see where Battlefield, I almost said Battlefield, what I meant was Call of Duty, but that's the other thing, is it's after a while it kind of blurs together. But seeing where it started and seeing where it is now, it's kind of odd how it's all converged to kind of a singularity of military shooters. But, c'est la vie.
Alright, so, chimping ain't easy. I know who you are. But he said that, he said, Origin games are crap. I agree. He said, but the Origin PCs are amazing. Origin PC, okay, we're diverting a little bit here, but...
Let's divert.
So, companies are cashing in right now, pretty big, on making your PC for you, right?
Yeah.
Making your PC for you and then selling it,
yeah.
Like to you. I did that for my first PC, for my first gaming PC, after my Battlefield 1942 stint with my Hewlett-Packard Pavilion with 48 megabytes of RAM.
You're right the first time, yeah.
Yes.
R.I.P. in peace.
My dad actually bought me a gaming gaming desktop. I bought it from CyberPower Incorporated.
Yeah, that's where I got mine.
Right. Mm-hmm. And this was just as WoW was releasing, I think. So it was like 2004, 2005.
Nice.
The bad thing about a lot of the companies is that they used a lot of refurbished hardware.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. I mean, obviously I'm like 15, 14 years old. Like, I'm not doing research. I just want to do a PC, and I don't really know how to build one yet.
Right.
So I ordered, I got it built for me and brought it in. I ended up having a memory error after a while, so I had to send memory back. And then I had another error with like a hard drive, but I ended up just replacing that myself.
Yeah.
I think one of my friends had like an extra hard drive I just ended up using.
No.
But yeah, I mean, it was a good machine. I ended up having to, replace the video card and stuff like that. But yeah, he's saying Origin PCs are amazing. Now, Origin PC, I looked at their website. They really only build high-end PCs. I kind of like it.
I believe it.
And they have their own cases, which I like even more. I like people that are more proprietary. The one thing that like Alienware had going for it back in the day was the fact that not only were the name brand Alienware,
they
had legitimately some cool-ass cases.
They looked cool as
hell. They looked awesome.
I'll give them that.
Their cases, they custom-made them, like... They were all awesome, and especially if you can get a company who can actually do water cooling for you, who can actually hook up the water cooling correctly, get an actual tube system running, not just the in-house cooler with like a fan cooler or everything, but like an actual tube system that has its own filter on the inside and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and Origin does that. So, I think it's cool. So, you had a bad experience? Did you have a bad experience with CyberPower?
I did, and that's why I have a hard time kind of recommending them. I haven't had anything. I've only had really one issue, but this one issue was a bit of a stinker. I received the PC, of course, kind of like Justin mentioned, went through the process where it's kind of I guess like a shopping cart of sorts. You start with what kind of process you want, how many processors, just how much processing power you want, how much money you want to spend. Then you start slapping stuff on like video cards and sound cards and peripherals and memory and all that, and hard drives, all that fun stuff. And they build most of it for you. I think once it shipped to me, there were a couple pieces I had to connect myself, but it's mostly constructed. They send it to you pretty much intact. Like I said, just a couple last-minute PCFG on your own, but it worked out pretty well for the first 6 months or so. Then the computer would just start randomly shutting off without any warning, no error messages. And it was never consistent. It was never predictable. Like, it was never... Sometimes it was while I was playing games. Other times it was while I was checking Facebook. Just very inconsistent, and it happened at a couple lands that we were at. It was an issue, but I tried my best to Google this very ungoogleable problem. My computer's restarting for no reason, and I have no record or error message for it, so help. And eventually got to the point where I was getting desperate, sent it back to CyberPower twice. Both times they said, looks good, buddy, everything's in good shape. Eventually, kind of on my own in this process, I'm teaching myself about the different hardware pieces and what they do and how they work. Eventually hypothesized that maybe the power supply wasn't supplying enough power. It was a 750 watts, which is pretty damn big. So but in a moment of desperation, I went out to Micro Center, place local in St. Louis,
I do like Micro Center.
And picked up a 900 watt, slapped that bad boy in, and I've had no problem since. So apparently 750 watts was not enough for this beast. But it was frustrating because, I mean, they sent me this system that at some point or another was not outputting enough power, and they were unable to find the issue on their own, and it was frustrating. I mean, I don't hold that big of a grudge because it was a tricky problem, and I mean, if I were the technician on the other side of that fence, I would be I think that would have been a tough one to solve. But it was just frustrating. It was, I don't know. I don't say that I recommend against them, but I recommend them with an asterisk. But yeah, that's my personal experience.
I typically don't recommend any of the buy your PC type deals. I mean, you're going to spend a lot of money. This day and age, you're bound to know somebody who knows how to build a PC.
Yes.
I mean, I technically don't know anything about water cooling.
I don't know.
But I mean, that's like the one thing that I don't really know about. But somebody knows somebody who knows how to build a PC. Go that route because you literally get it for, you're going to get it $500 cheaper than what somebody, because most places are going to charge you at least $800 for like the lowest end they can possibly do, and it's probably like a PC that costs them $300 to do.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
And going up from there is just going to be exponential at that point.
I agree. I do agree with Justin. If you have the means, definitely either build your own or have work with someone to build your own. It is a lot easier. Well, I'm not going to say that it's easier because it's not. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of research. Like when I was trying to solve my problem, I was kind of being forced into learning all about this shit. So now, one way or another, you figure it out. So I guess that's one good thing I can say about CyberPower. It taught me the basics.
There you go. All right. Well, now we'll actually get on track here.
Yep.
We finished talking about GOG Galaxy.
There's really not a whole lot to say at this point. Since it's still in beta, I would definitely recommend people try it out. Like I said, they're not super selective about how they send out beta keys. At least they don't come off that way to me. But yeah, try it out for people who don't use GOG or have never heard of it. Definitely give them a shot. I do like one point earlier that you made actually when we were texting earlier, is that you asked kind of a hard question. Is Steam too big? And as a unabashed Valve fanboy, I of course like to close my ears and say, of course not. Valve would never do anything wrong. Valve would never become an EA, right? Oh God, please. But in all seriousness, I mean, you want to make sure that there is healthy competition, no monopolies, because that's not good for anybody. The more outlets for competition with Steam and with Origin, with Amazon's digital service and all these others, the more we all benefit as a whole. So I'm all for it. Go Galaxy, go check that shit out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so we have two topics that we had one that we kind of talked about a couple weeks ago that we added, and then one that you had talked about yesterday. So AAA studios versus indie studios, and then we can lead into game developer and publisher PR troubles.
Oh yes.
So they kind of go hand in hand, to be honest, because both AAA studios and indie studios, I think more or less now are having, well, actually they both have PR troubles. Really
they do.
PR troubles.
They do, yes. Some worse than others.
Now, talking about AAA studios versus indie studios, I guess indie studios are kind of almost on par with AAA titles as far as like how much things are being, like how many indie titles are being purchased according to how many AAA titles are being made and put out. Indie titles are taking over, absolutely. I mean, impressive. 2 years ago, like I remember whenever the original indie titles were coming out, or 2 or 3 years ago, whenever like you would look on Xbox and there would be like an indie title, like Super Meat Boy was like the first one that I actually played.
Yes.
Loved Super Meat Boy. Me and Amanda actually played the hell out of Super Meat Boy.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure I broke a controller playing Super Meat Boy because you just get so frustrated.
Oh man, that's the game to do it too.
That game sold a ton of copies.
Yes, oh, totally.
And then I think AAA studios are getting they're getting annoying.
That's a good way to put it.
I'm so fed up with the whole pre-order
Yeah.
everything. I'm sick of pre-order and you get this, you get this. Like GTA even with the pre-order thing, and I was so upset that they did that. Like they did the whole pre-order, you get a $1.5 million in game.
Yeah.
I didn't care about the $1.5 million. I did pre-order just so I could preload the game because that was 69
right
gig. 59 gig. Anyways.
69 bits.
So, the one major thing I have with AAA studios is, they're making alright games. Some games are great. I mean, obviously, Last of Us was an absolutely great game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there was... I wasn't really into PlayStation at the time that it was released, so I don't know if there was any type of pre-order bonus. There obviously probably was.
There might have been.
But,
some GameStop exclusive or something.
Everything, it's so bad. And, I feel like indie games hopefully won't... I mean, obviously some of them are going to get there. But...
Yep.
It's kind of takes you back to how games kind of used to be, where you went out and you just bought the game because you heard from somebody else.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. It's one of my favorite things.
So, what do you feel like for AAA and for indie studios?
When it comes to the kind of the tried and true gaming experiences, we were kind of ragging earlier on Call of Duty and Battlefield, maybe to an unfair degree. But you do know what you're getting into. And I don't say that in a bad way. I mean, you expect a certain level of quality. You expect a certain type of experience. And they are fun games. So when it comes to the things that are a little bit more consistent as far as, to an extent, quality, but also just general content and the type of money that gets thrown at those things, and they have high production values, things like that, you can usually be pretty safe with certain AAA developers. Rockstar, I mean, with Grand Theft Auto, I mean, it's going to be an awesome game.
Yeah, the single player was great.
Yeah.
They did make a really good game.
Yeah, and I've mentioned my unabashed fanboyism of Nintendo, and I guess in a technical sense call them a AAA, if not just because they've been around for so long and are well established within the development community. Even if they don't sell quite the numbers that Call of Duty and Battlefield do, I think from a cultural perspective, I think they're up there as well, if not more so, but that's debatable. But then as far as getting into the people that say that all video games, a lot of video games can help blur together. Earlier we said that, well, I think I said that, where it's sometimes I kind of feel like the line between the Call of Duty and the Battlefield get a little blurred sometimes when it comes to creativity and really weird stuff. The indie sphere is kind of where I turn. Not just puzzle games like Super Meat Boy and Braid and all these rather noteworthy indie games, but I mean indie games that aren't even on Steam, people that are just making them on their own and putting them out for free somewhere. There's some really cool experimental stuff out there that I hope sees the light of day sometime.
Right.
But it's almost like from a hobbyist perspective. When you're building something for yourself as opposed to building something for profit, you have different priorities, as you should. But when it comes to something that's really, in some cases, maybe trying to do some sort of cultural reflection. Maybe you're trying to ask a difficult philosophical question about human nature and all these really tricky things that you don't really see in AAA games. I look for the indie sphere, is what I always call it, but the indie games community to really try and push things forward and stretch things out and get a little freaky. I like it.
What would you say your favorite indie game is? That has come out.
Oh man.
You can name a few if you want.
I'm going to be predictable here and probably say Braid.
I've never played Braid.
It's awesome. I mean, I'm sure you've heard plenty about it.
Yeah.
It's a really good game. Really, the puzzles are very clever. Lots of different types of puzzles. They really mix it up really well when it comes to variety with the puzzles. And I won't, no spoilers or anything, but the story hit me right in the heart of the feels. It was one of those games that struck more of a chord than I would like to admit on, a live Twitch channel. Man Tears is what I'm getting at. Man Tears were shed. It was awesome. It's an awesome game, and a lot has been said about Jonathan Blow, I believe is the guy's name. The guy who developed it. He's apparently a bit of an asshole and is a bit full of himself. But when you make an awesome game like Braid,
like
you're gonna funny. Yeah, there are comparisons between the two. And I don't know, I try not to invest too much into that. When it gets to the Phil Fish level, then it starts to bleed into the actual gaming experience. But in Jonathan Blow's case, the dude's clearly doing something right. So I don't know if he's full of himself and pretentious. It doesn't surprise me, but his games are still awesome. So I ain't even mad. How about you?
What was the game? I can't remember the name of it. It's been a couple years. I think it's been a couple years since I played it, but
yeah.
It's technically the whole game is black and white.
Limbo?
Limbo.
Yes! Love that shit.
Love Limbo.
Love that
Absolutely
shit.
love Limbo. I think that was one
man.
of my favorites to play. Me and Amanda actually played through that.
Yeah.
Freaky.
Yes!
Another game that I've really, really enjoyed, it's so crazy, is, what is it called? It's about, I can't even think of the name of it. It's...
What sort of stuff is it?
It's okay, so, you basically come home, you're this girl and you come home, I think it's called Gone Home.
Gone Home, yes! Oh, I love it.
Gone Home was a really interesting game, and I won't spoil anything for anyone who wants to actually play it, but the game isn't what you think it is.
Yeah, I agree.
The entire game, you have a totally different perspective on what the game is until the very end.
Getting goosebumps thinking about that shit.
And
that shit is so good.
That game was incredibly well done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really enjoyed that game. What else? There's a couple games. I obviously enjoyed Screw Meat Boy, but that was the original. I've never played Thomas Was Alone. But
I have not either.
But I've heard that it's an oddly really good game, and it's a very good story for somehow block.
Yeah, pixels.
The game is set up, you are blocks.
Yeah.
You move blocks and stuff like that, but they said the story was absolutely amazing. I kind of want to play it, but indie games are on the rise. People want to play indie games. Transistor, I can't.
Yes.
I love Transistor. I like the game. I shouldn't say I love it. I like the game. I'm not to the point where I love it yet because I honestly haven't played enough of it.
Well.
Okay. I'll accept this. I don't really know. I haven't played enough of Transistor to understand it yet.
Okay.
So, I've played it on and off. I'm probably halfway through the game, a little bit over. The battle system is awesome.
Nice.
And the concept behind it, between you're an actual you're a transistor, you can hook in these extra CPUs and stuff that actually give you devices.
Yeah.
When I finish that game, it's probably going to be pretty good because I've heard. Obviously, I think it won Indie Game of the Year last year or something like that. So
that's awesome.
I was trying to think of another game that Amanda and I started to play, but we stopped for some reason. I couldn't really remember, but I'll remember it later.
Yeah.
But it kind of leads into game developer and PR troubles.
Yeah.
Now, the way that I look at this is kind of the article that you had sent me.
Yeah.
Which was Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a blessing and an absolute curse because
it can be.
Kickstarter is awesome for people to be able to crowdfund and kind of direct which way the game's going.
Yeah. And that's
the
problem.
One thing that people, that is a major problem. We're not game developers. I'm not a game developer. I can only say, I want this in a game. I want this in a game. We should push for this, but I don't know how that's supposed to work.
Yeah.
That's something that I want, but I'm not a game developer.
Right.
And the majority of people that do Kickstarter are not game developers, and they don't know what goes on behind the scenes to make stuff happen. Another thing is that they don't have to necessarily. The people who do Kickstarters don't have to push you a product. They're not legally obliged to do anything with your money.
Yeah.
You are literally giving them money on a cause of, please do this.
Yeah.
People think that Kickstarter is an investment. Mm-hmm. It's not an investment. You're not getting anything in return for it other than maybe a final product.
Hopefully a product,
Hopefully a product.
Yeah.
You're not making money from that.
Oh, yeah. God, no.
No.
It's definitely different. I view it kind of in the mixed curse and a blessing light that you view it as well. there have been success stories, and there have been some really, really good success stories. Games that at least got started on Kickstarter, or got started due to Kickstarter, and have since formed pretty decent communities. What's the one that just hit not too long ago? It's like a D&D game, really, where one person plays the Dungeon Master. It started as a Kickstarter game. Pillars of Eternity.
Pillars of Eternity, yeah, that just came out.
That's I've heard nothing but really good things, and that was a Kickstarter game. But on the opposite end of that spectrum, and Justin's referencing an article that we were looking at a little bit earlier, where Double Fine, a very respected and well-established developer, keeps doing Kickstarters and keeps kind of reneging on what they're promising, which flies in the face of other developers or other publishers and such that try to do the same thing, but to maybe less fanfare and to more scrutiny when it doesn't go well. Mm-hmm. So the particular article was on Games Radar, and it was comparing at one point it started comparing Tim Schafer to Peter Molyneux, which I found striking, because for those who don't know, Peter Molyneux was the main designer and just kind of figurehead between Fable and Black and White 1 and 2, mm-hmm. and the first Dungeon Keeper and Syndicate, and a lot of really, really good games.
Yeah.
And I know with Fable, he had kind of garnered a bit of a reputation for overpromising. He would say all these wondrous things about Fable while it was still being in development, and then the game comes out and see that maybe a third of that.
He did the salesman pitch. Like, he did the typical salesman pitch, which was, we will give you this. Like, this is what's going to be in this game. Mm. And then everyone was really excited for it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that he said was going to be in it never saw the light of day.
Yeah, very much pie in the sky. And you can't blame the guy for being an idealist, but come on, man. I mean, when you're trying to peddle a product, let's be realistic.
It's like he wasn't even working really with the developers at all. Like,
there was a disconnect.
It was weird. A lot of stuff with, like, Fable 2, like the dog. I mean, like, a lot of stuff with Fable 2 was missing. Like, there's a lot of areas that people have found that they just didn't finish.
Yeah.
You know, like, I feel like it was rushed in the end, probably by the publisher to say, you know, hey, we need this out now to, you know, market it, make money. And they just never went back to it. Yeah.
I think that's the big thing that I think you kind of nailed, is that there was a lot of pressure between him and the publisher, which is a tale that we hear often when it comes to developers. Why is your game suck? Well, the publisher forced it to push it out early. Okay, publisher, why'd you force the developer to push your game out early? Well, they were taking too long, and they were taking too much of our money to develop it. There's no real good answer for that kind of thing. But with the Peter Molyneux thing, I mean, he, like I said, he garnered that reputation, and it's stuck with him to this day. He decided to go the non-publisher route and tried to do a Kickstarter for Godus, Godus, which similar kind of story. Promised all this stuff. It's been a little bit over 2 years since the Kickstarter had finished, and there's a mobile version that's apparently relatively successful, and there's a PC version that's still in beta. And suddenly he had found that there were some things that they were having to take off, like a Linux version thing, like stretch goals that they just flat out were not going to meet. And now he's pulling people off to work on another game. I can't remember, The Trail, I think is what it's called. But then they turn this around to look at Tim Schafer, who has been in the games industry for probably about the same amount of time Peter Molyneux has. Was the main guy one of the main guys behind Grim Fandango, and The Secret of Monkey Island, and Bzzzt. Not actually that, but some really Day of the Tentacle, really good adventure games from back in the day. And is kind of just a general all-around, like, he just comes off as a really cool dude. In interviews, he has a really cool head. He's a very humorous guy. Like, he's a very likable personality when it comes to, like, a face for a developer, or a group of developers at least. Sadly, though, same kind of thing. He's gone the publisher-free route, started with Broken Age, asked for $400,000, got like $3.3 million, and with the exponential amount of money he got, the exponential amount of stuff that he expected also shot through the roof, which far exceeded what they could do with that amount of money. So they ended up putting it out as Broken Age Act 1 on Steam, hoping to garner, yeah, you remember this, hoping to garner enough sales to eventually pay for Act 2, which it looks like is going to come out, in all fairness.
You had so much money. Like, you had so much money. What the hell did you do with it?
$3.3 million. What do you do with that?
And to be honest, the game the game's engine, anything that they would have had to create, isn't that substantial. It's not that heavy of a game. It really isn't.
It seemed like a lot of it was the stretch goals that they were trying to add. It seemed like they were really shooting for the moon, and they kind of missed. But as the saying goes, at least you land among the stars. At least the game did come out in some way, shape, or form, and it looks like the Act 2 part will be coming out. I don't know if there's going to be more than that after that. So beyond that, I think it's up in the air. But
I kickstarted that game. I've never.
Oh, did you?
I've never played it.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh man. I think I might. I'll have to double check. I might have kickstarted that too.
That was into my Kickstarter phase where I was doing a bunch of stuff.
I have a nasty habit of kickstarting something and then kind of forgetting about it. I'm not a very responsible Kickstarter. Don't kickstart and drive, kids. But yeah, but the similarities were striking because that was not the only time that happened. Then with Space Base 9, I think is what it's called, one that just happened recently.
I've actually never read anything about that, but when I was reading that article, that was upsetting.
That's some shit. That is some shit.
So basically, whenever they were finished developing, or as far as they wanted to go with development, they basically finished with a 1.0. Like they were like, it's good enough.
Yeah.
We'll slap the 1.0 on it. And then they pushed it out with the source code and said,
figure it out.
You guys can do what you want with it.
Yeah. I'm a software developer. I love open source shit, so that stuff speaks to me well. But for, I expected a game. I kickstarted this game. Why should it come up to the community to finish your half-assed game? Obviously there are some miffed feelings there for a good reason. So they're kind of 0 for 2 in that regard, which is frustrating. But I mentioned earlier with Peter Molyneux, he was taking people off of Goddess to work on the trail. Well, with Tim Schafer, he was taking people. Actually, in all fairness, I don't know if he was removing people from projects or if he was hiring new ones. But at some point, he also started Massive Chalice, another kickstarted game that I think is, of course, succeeded because, like I said, just a likable dude. You just want to throw money at him. But that succeeded, and I think that's in beta right now, but still a ways away from being completed. And this was during the Broken Age stuff. This was before Space Base. So in the middle of all this Big Mac of video game development was the secret sauce of thank you the secret sauce of Massive Chalice. So the parallels are striking, to say the least. But what I find the most interesting is that Peter Molyneux, just recently, there was recently, as in like a few months back, there was a Rock Paper Shotgun article interviewing him that really kind of tore him to shreds. And at first, in a way that was a little satisfying, because not like in a malicious way, but you want to see someone held accountable for their actions. Right. But it soon took a turn for like, whoa, no, this dude's just like being abusive. It's like the very first question he asks is, Peter Molyneux, would you call yourself a pathological liar? Which sets the stage for what eventually became a rather, like, I read the whole thing, and by the end of it,
I'm surprised Peter didn't walk off.
I mean,
at that point.
he was based on, of course, the dialogue. This is all written text, but based on the dialogue, he seemed visibly agitated, and I felt uncomfortable by the end of it, to the point where it's like, I'm starting to kind of side with Peter Molyneux. Why am I feeling this? And a lot of other outlets kind of voiced their support. Some voiced it in saying, "Yeah, we kicked his ass. Finally, he got his just dessert." But I don't know. I don't feel that it was quite warranted. I felt like a lot of it did go overstep the line, and what could have been an insightful article just turned into trashing the guy. But on the other side of the spectrum, Tim Schafer is still viewed in a relative light. So the question of, are we seeing both sides of this evenly is what it comes down to, and it doesn't feel that way, but I mean, that was the question the article was asking, and I don't think it was a real good answer. I talked a whole lot, so Justin, you're going to talk.
How is your mouth?
Ladies.
Dry? Oh.
Oh my.
How is your mouth?
It's something that I find fascinating, just because from a developer standpoint, like I can see how that shit goes. I know what it's like to be on a project that goes over budget, over schedule. It sucks, man, and that's just the nature of the game. And that's with just like regular, like, company projects, stuff where you're not making a game, you're just making some sort of internal application that's only going to be used by a couple of groups. So making a game, you're involving so many other teams, and so many other things can go wrong and be expensive and not work, and God, it's terrifying. Game development must suck. I don't know how people do it, man. I don't have the stomach for it.
Okay. We're going on a good track here.
But
Let's go with canceled games topic here.
no,
Okay. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. What do you know of any canceled games that like directly affected you?
I don't know about directly affecting me because I haven't played the first one, but I saw something just a little bit earlier about the question of whether or not Alan Wake 2 is canceled. Apparently it is a question. At some point, people were assuming it was dead in the water. Then maybe it was the publisher or the developer said, no, wait, don't nail that final nail in the coffin just yet. So yeah, I don't know if it's canceled, but people were whispering the legends of its demise apparently fairly recently. So I don't know what the deal with that is, but questionable release in that case, questionable eventual release. I mean, when I think canceled games, probably the most offensive cancel, not the game itself being offensive, but the way in which it was canceled was Mega Man Legends 3. That
Now, okay,
is a bummer.
the creator of Mega Man
Yes.
did a Kickstarter, correct?
Yes.
He's technically making another Mega Man.
Pretty
but
much,
it's
yeah.
not Mega Man.
Yeah.
But it's using basically the same tool set of Mega Man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but yeah, it's like the same. And this is classic Mega Man. So Mega Man Legends and Mega Man are very separate types of deals. But we are at least getting a new Mega Man experience sometime relatively soon, I think. Seems like that's been going for a while for Mighty Number 9. But yeah, with Mega Man Legends 3, I know that Mega Man Legends 2 ends on a fairly significant cliffhanger. 3 was announced, everyone's hype. They've been working on it for I feel like it was quite some time they were working on it, and then Capcom pulls the plug on it and pretty much says we're not making any more Mega Man games. And people were understandably bummed. I'm a fair weather fan of Mega Man games. I enjoy them when they're fun, but I wouldn't call myself like a huge fan. But I was kind of with the community on this one. It's like, man, it kind of sucks to like announce something, to have it, to put this much effort into it, put a fair amount of hype into it, just to pull the plug and say, yeah, we're just not gonna make this happen ever, and we're not gonna ever allow anyone else to make it. So, sorry, gotcha. It was a bummer, and it's kind of how they've been treating Mega Man for a while now, so it sucks. Womp womp.
I'm sitting here, I'm trying to think of a canceled game.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of any other like super offensive examples. That was like when I sent you that example, I was thinking Mega Man Legends 3 because I was like, it was such a bummer. I have a lot of friends that are huge Mega Man fans, and it still strikes a nerve, understandably so. I know that there were a lot of canceled. Well, I don't know if there were a lot, but I know that there have been a number of historical canceled games.
Ooh, good one.
Yellen?
Yeah, the guy.
Take the floor.
The guy in the stream here, give him grief, states Kingdoms of Amalur.
Oh, nice.
Kingdoms of Amalur, I almost forgot about it, but that was an amazing game.
Yeah.
I 100% enjoyed it, played all the way through it. I did not go back and do all the quests, I didn't do that, but I did beat the game. Oh my god, that was a great single player experience.
Nice, man. Awesome.
And it brought back, I think that, while I was playing, I was like, man, this is makes me want to play World of Warcraft or something, because the architecture that they use is old, it's obviously a medieval style.
No.
Spells, magic, and stuff like that. It reminded me a lot of Fable, original Fable.
Yeah, I can see that.
With the way the combat was.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it was so good. Yeah, I mean, they were supposed to have a second game, but they ended up closing because of I think it was Kurt Schilling, the pitcher, an MLB pitcher. Kurt Schilling was the one who actually, I think he was the one who owned the developers who made it. I can't think of the developers.
Owned them.
Wasn't it some? I think it was something. I'm trying to think of from memory here because it's been a little bit since I've read about it, but it was something to do with New Jersey law, I believe. That ended up canceling. I think it was Chris Christie who actually ended up forcing them out of New Jersey, which ended up causing them to close their main studio.
And close the highway. Oh, sorry.
38 Studios. Good call.
Man, that's harsh.
Yeah, that was really harsh.
How did I not hear about this? That's totally something I would have digested.
It was really weird.
Yeah. Weird.
I always recalled back because I was like, man, I can't believe an MLB pitcher was actually playing. But then I remember recalling back that he was actually playing World of Warcraft with other people. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's very upsetting, and
Man, that is upsetting.
it was such a good game. It deserves a sequel. It deserved a sequel. Still deserves a sequel. I think they need to come back to that franchise somehow. But wow, that was...
God, that's a bummer.
It is a bummer. That was a
Yeah.
really good game. And I recommend anyone who gets the chance to pick it up on Steam,
Mm.
please do, because that game is great.
Nice.
That is really good.
Oh, man.
Wow, good call on that one.
Yeah, I not even heard
That
of
was
that one.
near and dear to my heart, because, like, it wasn't really near and dear to me, I shouldn't say, because, like, I didn't play it when they got canceled. Like, I didn't play it before that.
Until that, yeah.
But I did play it down the road. I played it
Yeah.
a couple of years after.
Mhm.
I think there was a Steam sale, and I was like, man, I've never
$5
played
or so,
Kingdoms of
yeah.
Amalur. But I did see Pat playing it one time.
Uh-huh. Shoutouts to Pat.
So, shout-outs to Pat. Yeah. He was playing it before, and I was like, is this Kingdoms of Amalur? He was like, yeah, and I was like, this is a really good-looking game. I just couldn't get into it at the time. I was
Yeah.
too busy with other things. But, yeah, it was really good.
R.I.P. in peace.
R.I.P. in peace. Kingdoms of Amalur.
Yeah.
The Reckoning.
The Shrekkening. Well, I'm gonna make it a point to mention this game every fucking time we stream, but Eternal Darkness. I have to mention it. It's one of my favorites.
Did they get canceled?
It's not so much that it got canceled. It's
The
just that
studio
the
was
studio just. The Tale of Silicon Knights is as old as time. No, not really. But it's a fairly tired tale that I worry about, like, because it takes a lot. It's a rather lengthy story that's not terribly interesting. Just Silicon Knights did some shitty things, spent a lot of money doing some kind of shitty things from a legal perspective, and went bankrupt, and also developed some subpar games along the way. So it was a little rough for them, but there was a lot of people, myself included, who loved Eternal Darkness and was hoping for a sequel. The secret super bonus ending of Eternal Darkness does kind of leave it open-ended for sequels, interpretations. So, but yeah, it's like I said, the company has since gone under. There were 2 attempts by Dennis Dyack. He was the head, I guess the CEO, you would say, of Silicon Knights. Startup Precursor Games, kind of a new game studio with some people from Eternal Darkness, and tried twice with 2 separate Kickstarters to do what was it called? Shadow of the Eternals or Realm of the... I want to say Shadow of the Eternals. Or
So they're still sticking with the Eternal.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing. Is that
That's their
I
thing.
think Nintendo actually might still have the Eternal Darkness not license, but the copyright at least, because it was published by Nintendo. It was the fun fact. It was the first M-rated game to be published in the United States in 2003. So little bonus fun fact, free of charge. But yeah, so they can't call it Eternal Darkness, but they were trying to get it kickstarted to have a sequel, or at least a spiritual successor, or a spiritual sequel. But people, myself included, were like, this is only a couple months after you guys drove your original company to the ground, and you're asking for like, it was like $1.5 million at the first one.
Shit.
I think the first one was 1.5 million, the second was 750,000,
Okay.
and both times they had received pledges for roughly 100 to 200,000. So the community pretty much said, like, all right, we're willing to like offer you this much for a game, like, start small maybe, but for something this ambitious, we're not going to trust you with our money, so it's not going to happen. On the one hand, I was kind of bummed that we're at this rate probably never going to see a sequel to Eternal Darkness, but on the other hand, in this case, I was glad it did not get funded, because I don't think it would. It either wouldn't happen, or it would happen and it would be shitty,
Yeah,
and Dennis
terrible.
Dyack would run that into the ground. So it's like, you want it to happen when you want it to happen, you want it to happen well. You don't want it to be rushed, you don't want it to be shitty, you want it to be worthy of the original. That's how I put it.
So, this guy in stream, Give Him Grief, comes up with another one. He says, what are you guys' thoughts on RPGs?
Just in general?
In general.
Yeah.
What's your thought on RPGs?
I love them. I mean, I'm a little bit picky when it comes to MMORPGs, like I mentioned earlier, but I mean, it depends. Justin knows I'm a disgusting fan of the first Dark Souls. I haven't played any of the other From Software games, but man, Dark Souls, holy shit, that game was awesome. God dang, was it good. I mean, I enjoy, you also know that I'm a disgusting fan of the Diablo series.
Yeah, I
It's
love
disgusting.
Diablo as well.
Yeah, so...
Speaking in RPGs, like RPGs to me, I see... Okay, Diablo is an RPG to me. Like WoW is an RPG to me. The RPGs to me are like, for some reason, I always have to reference like JRPGs, because like the first RPG that I ever played was Final Fantasy. Like, and I played, I think my first one was, I played a demo of Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh,
right?
cool, yeah.
So I didn't start with the original Nintendo Final Fantasies, but I did start with like I would say Final Fantasy VIII. Now, okay. Now I'm thinking back, like, obviously I played RPGs before then. Like, I had a Nintendo 64, I played Ocarina of Time. You know, I guess, is that considered an RPG, right?
That was actually one thing that came to mind, is how do you define an RPG?
I think I define an RPG as, like, you level up a character, your character has levels, you have certain attributes that you apply to the character, or you have, like, magical abilities, skill trees and stuff like that. Yeah. That's what I consider an RPG.
Okay.
Or you can do it in the literal phase of role-playing game where you are playing in a role of someone.
Really, in most games, aren't you playing a role, though?
Technically, yeah. Technically,
that's where it gets kind of weird. I don't know. I do not have a definition.
Final Fantasy 1 holds Final Fantasy 7.
I mean, it's a good game, too. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, Final Fantasy 7 holds the spot in my heart for RPG because I played through it countless times, countless different things. Like, man, that is one of the best RPGs I've ever played. And then Persona's coming up. Yeah, he's with me there. And then he mentioned Conker's Bad Fur Day. Now, I guess in a literal sense, was an RPG.
Yeah.
That game was absolutely fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I don't know why my mom let me rent that game when I was like 9,
the fool!
8 or 9. But I mean, that's a quality game. Extremely hard when you don't understand what's going on.
Ain't that the truth?
But I remember I got stuck in this strip club with a bunch of rock people, and I had to pee on them, and I didn't understand the concept of me having to pee on those people. Like, man, that was.
Oh man, that's what all went downhill for you, isn't it? This is why you turned out the way you is.
This is the way it turned out.
This is how it happens. Games corrupt your kids.
RPGs in general, I think almost every game can be defined as an RPG. He also talked about The Witcher, the new Witcher game.
Oh,
I never played fully through The Witcher 1. I played a lot through The Witcher 2, almost to the end. I never completed it. I did end up watching videos and stuff, Let's Plays and stuff, of actually people completing it. I've seen all the cutscenes, seen all the story. I've read absolutely everything you could read about it. Since everything is technically, I guess, Norwegian? I don't know.
Something like
something of that nature. Yeah. But, like, those games are really good for story. I cannot wait for number 3 because I want to see. They're going to make me choose between Triss and Yennefer, and I don't like that already.
Also, the beards.
Oh yeah, they do have
beard physics.
Beard physics. So
beard engine.
Your beards change.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So your beards change from, I guess, because the real time that they have.
Yep.
So it's like, I guess the next day your beard's going to grow really fast.
Kind of cool.
So
that's
pretty awesome. Yeah. Poland. Okay, so it's a Polish game.
That would make sense. Yes, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, CD Projekt Red.
CD Projekt, yeah. CD Projekt Red, is that what the full name is?
I think so.
Okay. So, they do good work.
They do.
When the trailer came out last year, that shit was awesome.
Nice.
When I was like, man, The Witcher 3 is going to be fucking badass. Like, especially when you saw the trailer of Yennefer, like, basically taking out, like, all these soldiers, this fucking bird that she mind controlled. Like,
no. That's so cool, man.
And then we finally get to see Ciri, which is like the prodigal child of, you know, the world. So it's a person who's born with power, basically.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I'm excited about The Witcher 3. I'll buy that pretty much day one.
Nice.
Probably marathon through that. So.
As you should.
I think CD Projekt Red said something in regards to the speed runs that they've tested take 25 hours.
My God.
I don't
speed run.
Don't quote me on that. I think it was something like that.
Yeah.
It may have been 14.
Oh.
Or 25. I don't really know.
Still, those are numbers.
It's going to take a long time.
Yeah, lots of content. That's what I like to hear.
So, one thing I do want to finish off with before we finish up here is I have too many keyboards, as we mentioned earlier.
So many peripherals.
Too many keyboards. I have this keyboard here. I have this laptop keyboard. There's a keyboard up there. Too many keyboards. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Too many to count.
Don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah, keyboards coming out of my keyboards.
Video game soundtracks. I wanted to finish with this because I wanted to finish with something great. What is your favorite video game soundtrack?
Oh man, we could like spend an entire 3 episodes on video game soundtracks alone, man.
Maybe I should have brought this one up earlier.
Yeah, this is part 1 of 70 in our video game soundtrack discussions. If I had to pick one, it's a tough one. I can tell you that I don't know if it's my all-time favorite, but as far as one that I hold near and dear to my heart, is one of the games that I hold near and dear to my heart. Big surprise is Bomberman 64. The soundtrack as well as the game are not amazing, but the amount of nostalgia I hold for them is disgusting. So I have them on my iPod because I'm an 80-year-old man and I still use my iPod. But I have them on my iPod as well as a plethora of other video game music, and whenever that shit comes up on shuffle, because that's usually what I do, I just sit it on shuffle and just let it go. But whenever it comes up, I always get uncomfortably excited for it. So it's the kind of soundtrack that, like, the music I think is definitely good just from a purely objective standpoint. But the memories it brings up, of course, it's just a little thing that triggers in your mind, like, oh man, I remember that level, that thing was great, and man, this part sucked, and man, this part was difficult. All the feels that come back, always good times. Same thing with the sequel, with Bomberman 64, The Second Attack. Objectively better soundtrack, and man, there's some tracks on there that are pretty badass, but same kind of thing. I'll admit most of it is the nostalgia goggles.
Yeah, the nostalgia does a lot for you.
Oh, yeah.
Kingdom Hearts is probably my favorite soundtrack. I can listen to Dearly Beloved on repeat over and over again. I love the people on YouTube that do the extended versions of it, like what is his name? Kyle Landry, I think is what his name is. Don't quote me on that, but he does a lot of keyboard stuff. He's been doing Twitch now.
Oh, cool.
And he does a lot of piano, and I heard his rendition of it, and it was absolutely awesome.
Awesome.
My other one is, like, it's pure nostalgia, as you said. Final Fantasy VII, anything, give me just, like, the soundtrack of that.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the ones that have been redone, like, that people have done with, like, modern orchestras.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so good. So good. Final Fantasy X as well. I was about to say 10-2.
As well.
Don't say 10-2. 10 as well, because 10-2 is absolutely god-awful. But 10...
Shots fired!
10 had a great soundtrack as
yeah.
well. Man, those were good games. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts tops the list for me as far as like video game soundtrack. That was superb.
Oh yeah, that's awesome, man. All good choices all around.
But if I'm going for non-original soundtracks, Grand Theft Auto 5's
nice.
Got it going for giving a good mix
like
of
licensed soundtracks.
licensed
yeah.
music. So
Nice, man. Grand Theft Auto, they always step up their game. I mean, ever since Vice City. I mean, 3 had some good selections as well, but man, I mean, Vice City really did set the bar as far as like what to expect from a Grand Theft Auto soundtrack. Cause god damn.
And Eric brings up a good point. Like he says Wrath of the Lich King, World of Warcraft, right?
Oh.
Now, World of Warcraft, I don't want to bring it up too often because I bring it up every
I don't know what
because
that's
obviously I played it for so long, but they have a great soundtrack. I do have their soundtracks, all their soundtracks downloaded.
Yeah.
They're in my iTunes library. Wrath of the Lich King, the opening scene in the cinematic, man, that's so good. Man,
Nice.
It's like when you hear like his dad talking, Terrence Minethel talking to him, saying like the day that he was born. Oh God, it was so good.
Nice.
But that's nostalgia right there.
Yeah.
It hits you pretty hard.
I know the
World of
feeling.
Warcraft does really good with soundtracks though. They really make some really good scores.
I mean, Blizzard is pretty consistent in the production values and how much attention they put into that kind of stuff. I can usually turn to them for some good soundtrack deliciousness.
Yeah.
I always find I have a hard time talking about video game soundtracks without also talking about the video game soundtrack remix community. I know that you're a fan of Mega Ran.
Mega Ran
Shout out
is
to Mega
awesome.
Ran.
His album is played at least once a week.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the
Black
Material album. Yeah. Yeah, he is an extraordinarily prolific artist. He's the Black Material album was definitely one of his most successful ones. But man, he's done I don't know countless numbers of albums. He is an independent. The phrase that gets thrown around a lot is nerdcore, an independent nerdcore rapper, where he'll write songs that are usually themed around video games, and the beats that he uses are often remixed from video games. So the Black Material album, it tells the story from start to finish of Final Fantasy VII through the songs, including all the happy parts and the sad parts. So it covers a nice range of emotions and types of approaches that he's going with the songs, but all the while the songs, like I said, are using remixed beats of, or the beats rather are composed of remixed parts of the various songs in the soundtrack. So So from like a casual listener perspective, you think, oh yeah, I remember, I recognize this. This is from the Final Fantasy soundtrack, which is cool. But then you start listening to the lyrics and hear like the attention he put into making it really fit well with the theme. It really is impressive, and that's just the Black Materia album. He has a couple different aliases. His most popular one is Mega Ran because he's got started by doing that same kind of thing with Mega Man games. That Mega Man has been a recurring theme today. But he's AKA'd as Random. That's the stage name that he prefers to go by, just because he doesn't want to get tied down to one thing. But really, really prolific artist. And even if you're not big into rap, he is a really good way to get a viewpoint into the amount of variety that is out there with the video game remix community. And is just an all-around really cool dude. I've gotten to see his live show a number of times, gotten to meet him a number of times. He's one of the main people that I go to see whenever I go to MagFest. I've been to MagFest 2 years in a row, and he is one of my favorites. That too. The Cosby rap, oh, I love it.
I'm preparing it.
No, you should, because it's awesome. But, and there's so many others. When it comes to video game remix community stuff, there's so many other types of artists. There are people that do the metal thing, there are people that do jazz, electronica, dance, dubstep. I mean, there are so many classical, there's so many different types of artists out there. I mean, like I said, I could...
music for days.
Oh
now.
my god.
There's so much music
There
out
is.
there now.
There
It's
is.
insane.
It's startling, and that's one of the big things I like about MagFest. It kind of brings it all together all in one place, and it's fantastic. So, yeah, Mega Man definitely, if you're anything resembling a fan of hip-hop, definitely check him out. I cannot recommend him enough.
Absolutely. Alright, well, I think we've talked long enough,
Yep.
Sir Alex.
My phone is buzzing for whatever reason, so
Uh-oh.
it's a good
Phone call!
time to end it on, yep.
So, thanks for all who joined us. We had a pretty good turnout. Thanks for everyone. I still got to figure out the bit rate. I'm not sure what was going on with that. So, it doesn't look like we dropped any frames, but I noticed some people said that it was buffering randomly. It was more than one person. So,
Okay.
obviously it was probably on this end. But yeah, thanks all of you guys for hanging out with us. It was a jolly old time.
It was.
I enjoyed it. And we'll be back here in a couple weeks.
Hopefully 2 weeks from now.
Hopefully
Yeah.
2 weeks from now, whenever our schedules meet up, and we'll talk more stuff.
Yep.
So thanks all, and we're going to end you on the video we introed with, because it is absolutely great.
Kids, listen to the rap music. Kids, listen to the rap music. What do you like to play?
Pokemon!
Pokemon, 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 Pokemon. What do you like to play?
Pokemon!
Pokemon, Pokemon, Pokemon. You see, the kids, they listen to the rap, which gives them the brain damage. You see, with their hippin' and the hoppin' and the pippin' and the boppin', so they don't know what the jazz is all about. You see, jazz is like Jello pudding. No, actually, it's more like Kodak film. No, actually, jazz is like a new coat. It'll be around forever.
What's the difference between me and you?
Pokemon, 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 Pokemon.
What's the difference between me and you?
Pokemon, 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 Pokemon.
Hello, little fella. You like a jump rope. What do you think candy is made out of?
Pokemon!
Pokemon? No, actually,
Candy is...
it's more like Kodak film. See?
Here I go, down the slope. Oh, I'm going zip-zop, zoom-a-da-bop. It's okay, take your time. Do you remember what he looked like? I had an uncle named Stewie, and he used to sell bicycles.